What's up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thank you for giving us just a few minutes of your time. Boy, a whole lot to go into that has come up, especially in the Disney universe. We're going to save that for another show. There may be kind of a different live stream coming sometime Sunday during the day. I'm sure I can put together the time to do that because, the Gina Serrano thing is out there and it's got to be talked about, but we'll get around to that. But for right now, it is very important to celebrate these things as they come up because I want to celebrate them. It's a good thing to celebrate them, and one of the things that we can do during this month specifically is celebrate some of the African Americans and people of color who are really just fantastic in the field of entertainment, which is the field, the area that we try to exist in this show. And we're going to be doing that today, talking about some of our favorite African American comedians, and I'm going to be doing that with two of my very special friends. The first one is the Dowager Countess, Lady Cora. How are you tonight, ma'am?
I'm doing well, thank you.
This is really the first time that we've had a whole lot of crossover on our lists. I try to kind of guess off of some things, but I'm looking at the list. I'm looking at the list you guys sent me, and I'm like, okay, this might be a little bit of a shorter show because it's understandable, but we've got a couple to run over. But one of the people who's got one of these lists, and it's a good one. He gave me a good one. Is my hetero life mate, Jeremy Wolner. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, see, that's exactly what that was my admentium to my list. I'm like, if there's crossover, look, we can just have a little joint discussion on them, because I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Yes.
I specifically said that for this one. I'm like, we'll probably have some crossover, but that just means bigger discussion. It's fine.
Yeah, it means I don't know. It means we can consolidate the discussion a little bit. We may not have to go 2 hours, which is kind of cool because live because Jabroni Jabber, the Jabroni Jabber podcast goes live about 10 o'clock, so we won't run into his stuff, at least not too much. And also right now live is the Night Watch crew over there on their channel. They are doing My Bloody Valentine, a review of that movie. So. Watch them, watch us, do whatever they're going to do. Just go check them out. They're a fantastic channel as well. And the link to their channel is down below in the description. So definitely go check them out. They have some really cool reviews. They're a great bunch of people over there. But let's get to what we're getting to. And that's talking about some of the great African-American comics that are out there in the industry. And again, we're all going to there's going to be a lot of overlap because there are a few that really stand out. And they don't just stand out in the minority community. They stand out kind of in the world of comedy, period, as being some of the best.
Or entertainment in general.
Yeah, entertainment
in
general.
Where they rise above the title of, quote, comedian, and they're just fucking entertainers.
Yeah, and they're absolutely fantastic and inspiring people to listen to and terribly entertaining. And we're going to go ahead and start off with one of Cora's first selections. Go ahead, Miss Cora.
Which one should I go with that we both all have?
Anyone.
See, we thought it.
You pick.
We should have like a pre-discussion.
Okay. I'll start with Richard Pryor.
See, I almost put him on my list.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, no, I was like, the only reason I took him off. I'm sorry, man, but the only reason I took him off was because I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I should have a woman on here. I'll put. You know what? I'll swap it out. But I will mention him. So thank you for mentioning him for me.
So I remember being a kid of the 80s. Mind you, I was born in 81. So the first time I experienced him was him in Brewster's Millions when I was, I don't know.
Great movie.
A kid. And I vividly remember being very confused why he walked into a house that had no windows. And then I remember thinking, this guy's funny. And even as a kid, he made me laugh, even though I didn't quite understand it. And that to me was transcended, that as a kid I thought he was funny. And then as I got older and I watched his old stand-up, I thought he was funny. And then as a fucking adult, I went back and watched his stand-up a second time, like, holy fuck. This
hits you a little harder, doesn't it?
Oh my God, love this guy. And I feel bad that nowadays someone like Richard Pryor would be run off. But I'm glad
he wouldn't be doing that shit today.
Oh, I know, and that's the fucked up thing is it worked.
Right.
And it still works, but nobody wants to admit it. Well, some people do, like me. But anyways, the point is, fucking love the guy. This topic actually made me want to go back and look at what other movies he did that I never saw. And I now have a short list of stuff I might be watching in the near future, so.
That's actually funny you mentioned that because I did just actually watch a movie. This actually does kind of tie into this whole thing. Someone for kind of more like, we said dramatic roles, but more like serious acting roles, I guess. Someone that I did mention, but my mom had mentioned this. She'd always been, because I love I'm gonna spoil one of my for next week, but I love Billy D. Williams because I mean, of course, I saw him in Star Wars. You know, Lando's a cool ass character.
Is it bad? I
but,
don't
like,
know that name.
I mean, you may have seen him. Like he was in.
Yeah, you do.
He was. Trust me, you probably know.
Yeah,
like I said, he was Harvey Dent in Batman in the '89 one with Michael Keaton.
Oh, just didn't know the name.
Yeah, that's him. And like I said, he was Lando in Star Wars.
Lando
the original.
Calrissian.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What have we
Yes,
here?
right. Hello. I love him so much. I'm sorry. I don't want to like get too ahead of the next because he was my first fucking pick for that. But my mom kept telling me about this movie with him and Diana Ross, and I was like, okay, cool. And then so I watched it. I didn't know they also did another movie like before that. But she mentioned like, oh yeah, Richard Pryor's in it too, and I was like, what? What the fuck? No way. And I'm like, yeah, and it's not really like it was a funny role. He still made me laugh because he is just kind of himself. But he was like the guy that played the piano and like stood up for her and like got her the gig that so she could sing because you know that's what Diana Ross does best. Yeah, and it was really, and I'm like he's so young too. And I'm like he didn't have the mustache or like kind of had the fro. But I was just like, whoa, that's him! Holy crap! And I didn't know like where this was like in his comedic career or really his career in general. But it's just wild to see him, and they're all wonderful in that movie. I mean, really.
You know, one of the great things.
I'm sorry. It was Lady Sings the Blues. I didn't even fucking mention the title. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, one of the great things about Gene Wilder was his team up, or about Richard Pryor was his team ups with Gene Wilder.
Yes.
Some of those movies are absolutely phenomenal. Now, Gene Wilder was asked about it, before he passed away, about working with him, and he did say that it was very, very difficult to work with him when he was with Richard Pryor when Richard Pryor was dealing with his substance abuse issues back in the 70s and early 80s. He's like, but when he came to the set and was sober and ready to go, they said he was absolute magic. They said there was just nothing stopping the guy. Without trying, he was one of the funniest people in the world. I don't doubt that at all. And Richard Pryor was actually the third person I had on my list, so I'll go ahead and say the things I'm going to say about him now. One of the things that's interesting about him, though, is he is one of the first comedians that made raunchy comedy acceptable. I think people kind of listened to him and they were like, wait a minute, not all comedy has to be G-rated. You can actually say these hard things that are funny and still just kind of he was one of the ones that brought about this revolution of people just going to see a comedy show and laughing and not being so sensitive about shit. We can't do that kind of thing now. I mean, when certain comedians can kind of get away with it, but for the most part, if you say some of the shit that he said, you get blackballed really fast.
I think you see it on some of these small comedy clubs that aren't filmed and aren't recorded, that just are kind of like pop-ups, because I've been to a couple in Portland, even the last 5 years, where it wouldn't fly if it was on an HBO special, but you're in the room and you're hearing it and you're laughing your ass off.
Well, I think a lot of comedians, they get pressured to kind of dial back some jokes to be more crowd friendly, a comedy more or less open to the public ridicule that even the slightest joke can get these days. But, back then he was just like, screw it. These things are funny the way I see them, so I'm going to put them out there in joke form. And once people realize that you actually can look at some of these things and laugh, and you look at some of the things that he pointed out about the black community and race relations and so on, just kind of look at these serious topics in a funny light just to kind of escape the seriousness for a minute. That was a huge stepping point off for comedy. And that's
I love that somebody had the balls to just be like, I'm gonna fucking say it. And I don't give a shit. And like somebody had to do it, and I'm glad he was one of them that did.
Because this opened the door for one of Jeremy and I's favorite comedians, George Carlin. Remember, George Carlin was one of those guys.
That's exactly what I was
G-rated. He was not G-rated, but he did kind of open up his act to do different things after people like Pryor came through and just kind of like wrecked that whole idea of, the "take my wife, please," which was funny, but it was kind of it gets kind of bland after a while, especially when every comedian's kind of doing the same thing. So when he comes along and just kind of blows that whole stereotype of having to be, so bland and boring, blows it out of the water and lets people really experiment with their comedy, it really opened up the world to seeing a lot of not always positive situations or serious situations in a comedic light, which kind of helps everybody cope a little bit.
I agree.
That's why I don't really I love that I'm kind of brazen sometimes, or maybe that's off-putting to some people. But like that's just kind of how I am. But I'm like I appreciate that. I don't have to sit here and be like family friendly to everyone. I mean, people ask like, "Oh, when you game or you stream, are you family friendly?" And I said something that Jeff Dunham said. He was like, "It depends on who your family is." I'm like, right. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I just really hope he doesn't get canceled. And you know, I know people don't talk about it much, but I hope they don't start deleting his shit everywhere.
No,
cancel culture.
Well, it won't happen for a couple of reasons. I don't think. One, because he's been dead for a while.
Well,
I mean, yeah. I mean, canceling people who've been dead for a while doesn't seem to do much good. Although it doesn't stop people from trying.
Oh, and it's on the internet. It's going to be there. You can't really.
Well, but on top of that, it's like Richard Pryor. I don't want to say bulletproof when it comes to stuff like that, but he is seen as a visionary in this field, and I think that when you are not single-handedly, but hold a lot of the responsibility for this crazy evolution that happened over the course of like 10 years in comedy, that puts you at a status that's a little, I think for the most part, untouchable.
It made him stand out for sure. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts on Richard Pryor?
Fantastic. If you don't know much about him, go watch some of his shit.
You can go find a lot of his stuff on YouTube. I think you can go. I'm sure he's probably got a website where you can go buy DVDs and Blu-ray, but I mean, I'm sure you could find a lot of his routines on YouTube, especially the one where he makes fun of himself. You know, he had that little incident where he was doing some not very smart stuff and set his own hair on fire, or set himself on fire, however that whole worked. You know,
did an MJ, didn't he?
Yeah, in one of his stand-up things, there's actually a picture of him, and I almost grabbed this picture instead of this one, but I like this picture better, where he like lights a match on stage and he's talking about it. He's actually making fun of the fact and getting a laugh out of the fact that he set himself on fire when he was doing drugs.
Right. It's like if you can't laugh at yourself a little bit, I mean,
well, and even comedians some comedians have trouble laughing at themselves. They don't really want to be the butt of their own joke, but at the same time, this guy's smart enough to see it and be like, you know what, this shit's fucking funny. I'm going to talk about it. And he goes up there on stage.
You guys gotta hear. You gotta hear what the fuck. Well, what I did to myself.
Yeah, I'm the guy that lit myself on fire doing crack. Let's all have a good laugh on it. That right there is golden. When you can laugh at yourself, you are a purely awesome individual. I really,
I'm laughing with you guys.
What he also did with that is he set a foundation for making self-deprecation a whole new category in comedy.
That's what I do every day.
Oh yeah,
comedians.
He was fantastic, and also he had a really good movie career even after he had stopped working with Gene Wilder. He had done shit like one of the funniest movies in the '80s was a movie called Critical Condition that he did, where he is locked up in the psych ward of some hospital somewhere when a hurricane rolls through, and he escapes during all the chaos, and because he can't get off of this island the hospital's on, he pretends to be a doctor to keep from getting, because nobody there really knows who he is. He's just a face in the crowd, but he can't get off the island, so he pretends to be a doctor, and all this crazy shit happens. It's actually a really funny movie. But I mean, it's stuff like that, like the movie Moving that he did. Obviously, he was the comic relief in Superman 3, which was one of the only things that really kind of saved that movie.
Yes.
Which is one of the only things that kind of saved that movie. But
it's the only thing good about that movie.
Yeah, his role was.
And then there's 4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, we don't talk about 4. I don't think even Christopher Reeve talked about 4. But
no.
But go check out his stuff. It's honest, it's pure, and you know, something you're going to find probably with a lot of the comedians that we're going to talk about today is some of the best comedians. Their comedy comes from pain, and this guy certainly put himself through enough pain to where he could find a lot of humor in everything that was going on in his life. So see,
and I'm like, that's the thing. Like that's weirdly how I do it. Like it's in a funny way. It's funny how like it's weirdly like not like a defense mechanism, but also I'm like I can sit here and laugh about it, like, and it comes from a real place. Not that I just laugh something off, but I can kind of find something funny about it, and I can turn it around a little bit. You know,
yeah.
I love that I can do. I mean, I don't know. I you know what? I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I was talking to somebody at work. It was a month ago. He like literally told me, he's like, dude, I had this guy dying. I'm just at work and I'm just like shooting his shit off like just straight face. Like that's the thing. If you can just send that, you can send that line out and just, you know, this dude was dying. He's like, dude, he's like, I thought I should have been a comedian. Holy shit. I'm like, I can't say I didn't think about it, but I can't remember we were just making fun of somebody, but like, I'm just shooting it off just one after another. And I had this dude dying.
Can I touch on something you just said, Jeremy?
Yeah.
I think what just jumped in my head is making fun of yourself is a way of almost like airing a grievance or airing a venting, but in a healthy way, because you're putting a funny twist on it, and it's not as heavy as, like, say, crying or going to a fucking therapist. You're just like,
yeah, like after the fact. I mean, it may not have been funny at the time, but I can look back and be like, yeah, well,
it's
that
like
was dumb, wasn't it?
It's like a healthy, fun way of just being honest about yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, like when I told dude too, I was like, I can't say. I'd be lying if I said I didn't actually think about and write out some like little bits to do, like a little thing to kind of like roll with, and I kind of put them like into some little something that made sense. So I was like, I don't know, I could just stand up on the stage and probably just talk about bullshit that's happened to me and try to make it funny to people. Because like the way I explain it, I guess, is maybe what makes it funny. I don't know.
But yeah, Richard Pryor, definitely an absolutely great person. Jeremy, let's see, who do I start? I'll start with the chorus. So Jeremy, why don't you give us somebody you've got on your list?
All right, well, I think this is somebody we all know, and it was not really a shock because I love this man to death, and I have actually gotten to see him live. I still have in my closet right next to me the poster that I found on the ground and took home with me from Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart is hilarious.
Kevin Hart.
He's on my list.
Yeah, I figured he would be. I'm like, fuck it. I didn't mean to call dibs in the chat, but I was like, I kind of want to call dibs though. I know it's gonna happen, but whatever.
Again, there is a weird amount of crossover in our three lists. So.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not necessarily a bad. But that's a good thing. Like we all know, like these, like you said, these people are fucking hilarious. And they're phenomenal in their field. Honestly, like I think the first thing I saw him in really was like the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like he was the guy that came into the electronics store and whatever, was trying to like have dude like help him. Like yeah, he's like, dude, you got to help me out with this warranty, like on the house kind of thing. And it's like it's weird watching that, and I'm like, it's like what 2005, and it's like he's still kind of the same guy. He's still got those same little mannerisms and the way he just goes off on Steve Carell. I don't know. When I saw this guy like live, I was actually not far from like right there on the stage. Yes, he is that short. I mean, he really is that short. But during the show, like I was like partially aware, and then after, I was fully aware that my face fucking hurt. My cheeks hurt so bad because I was laughing so much at this guy. I had to actually like try to like straighten my face out a little bit. Like, okay, that was some funny. I looked at who he was with. I was like, that was some funny shit he said.
Yeah, he is super high energy, and that's one of the things that helped convey kind of his, the premises that he's putting across with his jokes. He throws it at you like a fastball going 110 miles an hour. I mean, and when it hits you, it hits you in a way that just, I mean, you have to feel it because his energy is just so thick. One of the things I really like about him is not only is he super funny, but he's super smart. It's easy to go out there and tell a knock joke or a joke that somebody else wrote for you, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of writers.
He seems to read the room more and kind of adapt his stuff rather than just have a set and just keep running with it no matter how the audience responds. Yeah.
Well, the great comedians, that's what they do. Is they can work and work and work on a product, and when they get to the point where they're actually doing it in like one of the live specials or the biggest shows that they do over the course of a year, they one of the things they've all the good ones have gotten good at is that little bit of redirection you do, like mid routine. If something's not working quite right, it's something as subtle as like putting the affliction on this word and not the other one. Stuff like that kind of changes the dimension of the entire joke. And he is one of those people that is smart enough to do that.
But he has an amazing stage presence. Because some comedians are fantastic with the delivery of what they're trying to say, but they don't have much stage presence. He has that.
Yeah, and like you were saying, he's got so much energy. And like he's got, like I said, these little mannerisms and facial expressions, and he gets into like he just physically kind of gets into his comedy, and like he's not just standing there like ripping off jokes, man. Like he gets into the stories and shit that he's telling. That's what's fantastic about him.
Yeah, he really does. Also, one of the things I like about him is he is insanely smart. I don't know if you guys have ever caught any of his appearances on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's like not only does he get involved in like real estate and stuff like that, he started his own supplement company. It's all kinds of crazy shit that he does, and there's a reason why this guy wears gold-plated everything or solid gold everything. It's because he can afford it. Yeah, this guy really puts himself out there, and he is stupid intelligent. I mean, this guy is just plain smart.
Yeah, well, someone even mentioned that too, like watching his special. Like, so someone put a little cut together of like from different specials, and they were like, someone in the comments was like, "Do you notice like his outfits changing a little bit as he gets out there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, from like what now or not what now? Fucking I'm a grown ass little man or something like that. He's wearing like all black, got like leather, some nice shoes. But then like when you get to like the ones like later or more recently, I'm like, he's got like a gold chain around his neck, and his fucking and his mic was gold, and I'm like, damn, all right, dude, I respect the drip.
I think
I really do.
I think he got a lot of shit for that old social media stuff and how he got that one award ceremony hosting thing taken away. And I was like, I was so upset about that. I was like, who the fuck cares what he said 5 years ago on Twitter? This guy is an amazing comedian. He's a fucking comedian, and you're criticizing him for something he said on social media. Even I thought that was stupid, and I'm
That's
really
the
glad
culture.
but I'm glad his career didn't die from that. So,
well, I
kind of hard to.
I think he's
someone
one
of
of
his
those,
magnitude, though.
He's somebody who's well liked by everybody. So I think to a point he's got a little bit of a shield from that kind of thing. Because when you're well liked by so many people, even when you do something that's kind of dumb, and I'm not saying he did, I actually think them freaking out over any of those tweets was actually kind of a silly thing. But even when you do something that's kind of dumb, you can kind of almost get away with it a little bit. So I think he's got a little bit of a shield because he's so terribly popular. Now, once he's kind of settled away from the limelight a little bit, and if he tweets something stupid, and the next couple big things in comedy have come on and taken all of his spotlight and everything away, then maybe he can get in trouble for something. But for right now, everybody loves him. White, black, there isn't a segment of the population that doesn't laugh like hell when this guy's talking.
Oh yeah,
and he's really honest about his own life and his comedy. And
yeah.
I know most comedians do that, but he's actually pretty real. So
it again comes from a real place. Like he'll tell you like stories that like they've gone out and they've done stuff together, and like he'll fucking just talk about his wife, talk about his fucking kids a lot. It's some funny shit. I'm still thinking about it. Like at work, that was one person that we always like. We'll put on like a comedy station, or like we'll just like listen to a whole comedy routine. And Kevin Hart is somebody that we always listen to, like while at work. Like I'll sit there and I hate that sometimes I forget I'm doing that, and I'll just bust out laughing, and people look at me like I'm fucking weird. I'm like, no, shut up,
Yeah, but
listen to Kevin Hart.
Any final thoughts on Kevin Hart as we move on?
He's awesome.
Yeah, I was trying to make a short joke, but I couldn't think of one.
You're not tall enough to make a short joke.
He's a short man with a tall career.
He is. Well, yeah, he's got taller stacks than I do.
I'm looking up at him. Yeah, trust me. In retrospect, I'm looking up at him. Believe me.
He's got taller stacks than I do. That's for damn sure.
Well, that's because you're shorter than him. But we don't know that, do we?
No, I'm taller than he is. Well, probably. I don't
Shush. He's like 5'4".
Oh, I'm taller than 5'4".
A lot of people are taller than 5'4", man. He gets that.
Jeremy, I'm 5'5", so I'm taller.
See, so you made it.
See?
You made the cut.
See?
But yeah, definitely, you can go find all the Kevin Hart stuff everywhere. He's on all the streaming services. All of his specials are out there somewhere, and I'm sure you can find clips on YouTube for those of you who have never actually heard Kevin Hart. I'm sure there's probably three or four people on the planet that haven't heard Kevin Hart. So yeah, definitely go check him out if you get a chance. Now, I'll get to my first one really quick. I kind of went a little older because I'm older than you guys. But I
knew who Richard Pryor was. Fuck you.
Yeah, but Richard Pryor, he's another level, though. Richard Pryor is not just some guy who used to be a comedian 40 years ago. He is the upper echelon of comedians, period. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's up there with the Sam Kinnisons and the George Carlins and all that. He's legend status. So not knowing his name would kind of be a farce. But
There are some people who don't know, man.
one of the people that I've always enjoyed listening to, and he gave us the best Your Mama jokes ever, was George Wallace.
Oh no.
George Wallace
I forgot about him.
Dude, George Wallace is one of the funniest people I've ever heard speak. You know, there was a Family Guy bit that I had seen in an old episode a while back where Stewie and Brian went to go walk around a hospital because Stewie wants to find the sassy black nurse because there's always one in the hospital somewhere, and then they find her and there's there's a little bit of a scene around it. But he is that older guy who's been around for a while. He's seen some of the shit that happened, you know, back in the 50s and 60s. He witnessed some of that, so that kind of fueled a lot of his comedy. He's also, his observations are very honest. He's a very, I think he's a logical thinker. So when something doesn't make sense to him, he's right out there to tell you that it doesn't make any fucking sense. I like people that have quick minds like that. Those are some of the funniest people because they generally don't put anything they're about to say through a filter. And that stuff's usually the funniest.
And if you can still roll with it, that's what's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm like, people have told me, like, I'm on it. I don't even, like, I'll just rail it off and just keep going. Like, and I'll roll, and I'm not even going to act like I made a mistake, you know?
Yeah, if you guys have not heard his bit about dum-dums on their smartphones, you need to go to YouTube and check that shit out. It is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. But, you know, something interesting about him is he was a writer for the Red Fox show back in the day. And I don't mean the one that Red Fox was on when he passed away several years ago. I mean like one of his original joints from the 60s and 70s. So this guy wrote for Red Fox, who was considered one of the funniest people
Sanford
ever.
and Son?
But I think it was pre-Sanford and Son, or maybe right around that era.
Was it like a talk show?
No, I think it was his own sitcom kind of thing. I've only seen little clips of it, but also I do have another little connection to George Wallace I really enjoy. His nephew is Steve Wallace, who is a former offensive lineman for the San Francisco 49ers. So I actually grew up watching his nephew play football back in the day.
Cool.
But yeah, he is, again, he's one of those people that's just very upfront funny. And it's this simplistic view of situations that he can take and make funny. Like, you know, it's like that old joke, does it hurt when you do that? Well, yes, and don't do that. That kind of shit that he turns into something, he takes it to another level. It's just so damn funny when he goes into his routines. And again, he's the king of the Your Mama jokes. Your Mama jokes are kind of funny on their own, but there's something about his timing and delivery that makes them so much better. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, because he is not afraid to get kind of crude and rude and really kind of go for the jugular and the joke, it's another level on top of that. It's that cringe level that you're like, you don't know if you should laugh at it publicly, but you can't help it because it's so damn funny that you kind of look down and laugh and try to hold it in a little bit, even though everybody knows you think it's fucking hilarious. Yeah, it's not necessarily
a punchline. This is a body slam line. He just fucking, it's like, oh, he said that. He really said that, right? Yeah. You know, you're looking at everybody else in the room like, oh, we all heard that. And we're like, that's funny. You know.
Yeah, he is tremendously funny.
His name, I Googled him, saw his face, and I already knew what his voice sounds like in my head. So yeah, I know who he is. He didn't pop into my head, and I learned some random fact about him. He was Jerry Seinfeld's best man. So evidently
he was, yeah.
Nice.
Beloved by the fellow comedians in the world.
I think him and Seinfeld, they didn't quite come up together, but I think one of them used to open for the other, or they used to tour together or something like that. And that was one of the things that helped get him a lot of publicity going up through like the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Good choice. Very good choice.
Who do you got next, Cora?
Let's see. Eddie Murphy. And this is very specific because
I had Eddie Murphy too. I figured.
80s Eddie Murphy. Like
yes.
SNL stand-up, not the new way. This is what I wrote in my notes. As he got older, I didn't think he was as funny, but he's still comedy gold. I mean,
because he kind of set himself up in that time.
Yeah, Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy together at SNL, that short time they were, fucking magic. And it just, he reminds me of a black young version of like old school Jim Carrey. Like, you know,
I could see that.
I love, I'm not trying to make it about race, just saying that yeah, I said it, sorry. But I just love he was raunchy. He said stuff that maybe wouldn't fly today. And it was very much a portrait of what America was like back then. And looking back now, I love that side of Eddie Murphy. And you know, whether it's good or bad, I'm really looking forward to the follow-up movie to Coming to America next month, because and I'm going to rewatch the first one the day before. So yeah, but that's Eddie Murphy, specifically the 80s. There we go.
That's a very good way to put it. I'm glad you did.
What do you think, Eddie Murphy, Jeremy?
Well, see, I do agree with her. Like, again, this is the funny perspective because I am younger. Now this one I can be like, oh, well, I was younger. What I was introduced to was like Shrek and like Daddy Daycare. Now, while he is still funny, and I still found it hilarious when I was a kid, and even as an adult, because I had like a weird, not adult, but like a weird thing about like I watched Daddy Daycare a lot. I just love that movie for some reason. And Shrek is love, Shrek is life. We all just have to say it. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But yeah, no. But then like when I really, and like the Nutty Professor, that may have been a little more adult oriented. That was kind of like that's where I started to see it, and I think that's when I fell into the whole like when I saw his stuff from like the 80s and shit, and like I was like, oh, okay. And then it made me think, something happened, didn't they? Because this is almost like two phases of like the same person. It was really weird to like see, and I'm like, he's still funny, but I'm like,
Jim
yeah,
Carrey
I'm like,
completely went PC and mainstream. And here's the thing: if the newer version of Jim Carrey and the newer version of Eddie Murphy were what they started out with, we wouldn't be talking about them.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, you got out there in that way, and I'm glad you did. But it's kind of it kind of sucks that like that reason that you know everybody started looking at you was like, and now it's kind of just
carrying them.
Yeah, and now it's just kind of gone. I'm like, well, we know you're still funny. I don't know.
What do you?
Trust me, I still know you're funny.
Yeah, Raw and Delirious. A lot of people think those are the two best single stand-up performances ever. They are a different kind of funny. One of the things I've always found really interesting, you know, we talked about Richard Pryor earlier, is he actually mentions, I forget which one. I think it may be Delirious. I forget. I'll have to go back and watch them both because they're awesome. Is that he actually talks about this conversation he had with Richard Pryor where Bill Cosby, of all people, calls him and tells him that his comedy's too dirty. And he asked Richard Pryor what he thinks. He says, "Tell Bill to have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up," because while that comedy works, and Bill Cosby, for all of the other stuff surrounding him notwithstanding, because Bill Cosby was so good at taking those G-rated family moments and making them very funny to the masses. There is this other side of comedy that wants to be very aggressive and in your face that can also be equally as funny. And the guys that chose to embrace that part of comedy, again, they really help kind of elevate the comedic game in the late 70s and through the 80s. And Eddie Murphy, dude, if Richard Pryor was hitting home runs, this guy was hitting home runs right after him. I mean, he is every bit as good as Richard Pryor was in his prime. And the thing is I think for all of Richard Pryor's talents, I think Eddie Murphy may have a slight edge on him in the fact that he's not just a great comedian, he's a pretty damn good actor. I mean, even his kind of dramatic stuff. I mean, and
Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, well, I'm not even talking about Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop.
I think he's talking about the whole like disguise thing, like Dana Carvey with the voices and switching.
Oh no, not even that. Not even that.
I can still see that though.
No. I'm talking about when he tries to do dramatic stuff. Have you guys ever seen the movie Mr. Church? Or Church?
No.
It was either Church or Mr. Church. It is a very dramatic role. I mean, he cracks some jokes in it, but it's the kind of jokes that you expect in a dramatic movie. Dude, this guy can legit fucking act. He has got some serious talent.
Well, in Coming to America, the first one.
But it's still mostly comedy, though.
I know, but you can tell he was very believable as Zamundan prince.
As being a stuck-up prince who doesn't really know a lot about how the world works at that point, yeah, but it's still a very comedic thing.
Parts to it.
But no, he's...
No.
Also, even Trading Places, like it's still...
Yes, that's where I was going. In Trading Places, that was a semi-serious movie. This guy whose life is turned upside down, he's trying to vindicate himself and clear his name. I mean... Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, this guy has got legitimate talent. And on top of that, he can sing. Party all the time. You guys ever heard this song? That's Eddie Murphy, kids. My girl wants to party all the time. Eddie Murphy cut an entire album back in, I forget what it was. It was like 84 or something like that. He cut an entire album.
I'm getting somebody for a gag gift.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But this ain't no joke. This is real life right now.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to be funny, although it kind of was. But that one song, it's still huge. It still gets gameplay on. It's like it's airtime on the the easy listening radio and the 80s radio stations and shit like that. And it's a catchy song. I mean, it's 80s catchy. It wasn't a great song, but it's 80s catchy. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say that every now and again when it comes on. I'm like, my girl wants to party all the time. If I'm alone in the car, I might even sing it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this guy, he is one of the apex predators of comedy. I mean, and like I said, if you have not seen Raw or Delirious, those are very, very good by today's standards, not by 1985 and 87 standards when they came out or something like that. By today's standards, they are an elevated level of comedy. So if you have not seen that shit, definitely go check it out. It's phenomenal.
Do you guys think with Coming to America sequel coming out, this new contract he has with Prime doing other stuff, that he's going to kind of revamp his career?
I have heard that he had signed that deal with Netflix.
Oh, my mistake. I thought it was coming out on Prime.
I had heard, Coming to America 2 is coming out on Prime.
Right.
That deal was signed between the production company and Amazon. Eddie Murphy has a deal with Netflix. That's what led to the Dolomite movie that came out a while back, which is, again, really funny. But I have heard, although Netflix has not said this outright, but it is rumored that I think he did like a 3 or 4 project deal with Netflix. And that one of those projects is going to be a new, like, hour-and-a-half stand-up, a la what we once got with Raw and Delirious. If that's the case, I will be at my TV at 3 o'clock in the morning when my Netflix updates. And as soon as that damn thing goes live, I'm hitting play. I'm going to have beer and popcorn. I'm ready to go. I don't want to wait till the next day to watch it. I will be all over that shit. Even if it's not as good as Raw and Delirious, I have a feeling I will still enjoy the shit out of that. Because I would love to see Eddie Murphy get back into some stand-up. Maybe not doing it all the time as like a career anymore, but I would love to see him get back into doing at least some kind of stand-up.
And people would watch it for sure. Again, it's a name, you know who this guy is, and you'd be interested in seeing him get back into it a little bit, even if it is just, kind of a casual deal.
But even a little bit of stuff.
The serious side of him, like maybe doing a sit-down thing where he interviews people or talks about his experiences with other comedians in his career. Like that'd be like the Eddie Murphy Chronicles, and one episode's about the people who he came up with and who inspired him, like Richard Pryor or Steve Martin or whatever, and then have an episode where he talks about the young up-and-comers he's inspired that he's worked with. And I think I would love to hear the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Hell, he could play it, and he could play every part in that little series. Every character.
He probably
he would do it.
And he's one of the first guys that mastered that too. The whole putting on. I mean, all the way. I think it really started in Coming to America, but then he ended up doing it in like the Clumps and
So you think he inspired Dana Carvey then?
I think Dana Carvey was already doing it, but I think Dana Carvey was doing it more for SNL.
I was like, he was on SNL like in the early '90s, maybe late '80s.
Yeah, I think he was doing it more for SNL and not necessarily for his own movie stuff. Because Dana Carvey, remember, he hasn't really had a huge movie career post SNL.
No,
it's like Wayne's World and
that's pretty much it. Of characters stepping into something.
Like Wayne's World and Master of Disguise. That's it.
Yeah, he had that one movie that didn't go over very well.
But all his
I still like it.
SNL, man, he does them well.
I thought it was okay. I don't know, but yeah, but Eddie Murphy was doing it too, and Eddie Murphy took it to a whole nother level. Now maybe it's because Eddie Murphy's a bigger brand comedically than Dana Carvey. Dana Carvey's funny, don't get me wrong, but I think because he's a bigger brand that maybe he's remembered for it more than Dana Carvey is.
I think it also helped that Eddie Murphy was on SNL early on, but he branched off and made his own career independent of it. And Dana Carvey and a few others have just been mostly on SNL and done a little else. But Eddie Murphy just like trailblazed his own career after he started on SNL.
They have come back and started doing those little Uber Eats commercials. And I think it's fucking phenomenal. Him and Mike Myers.
I haven't actually seen the commercial yet. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's great. I will not bow to any corporate sponsors. Damn it, guys.
All the Boy Meets World people came back for a reunion to do some fucking commercial. I heard online the other day.
I didn't know anything about that. But, yeah.
Topanga and shit.
Eddie Murphy, he is, like I said, he is up there amongst the top probably 4 or 5 comedians ever.
Yeah.
So, seriously, if you guys have not seen Raw or Delirious, go watch. That stuff is so... It is unabashedly, no gloves, in your face, hilarious. And he makes fun of everybody. He is... But, it was before PC kind of ran people over, and they started trying to, water down comedy because they're afraid of upsetting, anybody. And when
Such
you could
a
do
dumb
that
thing to do to comedy, though.
and when you could do that in the 80s, when you could just really go balls out and just make fun of everything, that's when you allow somebody who's got the quick minds like this, like Eddie Murphy and some of these other guys, to really, really shine.
See, that's why I love comedy like that, and that's why I like to think that I'm in the same vein. I'm like, I don't give I will make fun of any one of you. I'm not afraid. I don't have a type. Comedy don't care.
Yeah,
if it's fucking funny. It's funny.
Well, the whole point of comedy is to you're supposed to be able to kind of go overboard in comedy. You're supposed to be able to put PC aside and look at like I said, a serious situation and try to make light out of it, because there is that old expression: you either you laugh to keep from crying, and it's which one would you rather do? Would you rather laugh or cry? I personally would rather laugh. I mean, there's nothing you can do to avoid crying sometimes, but shit, if you can make me laugh when I'm in a shitty mood, you're all right by me.
See, like that's the kind of friend I am. I'm like, I mean, I will sit down. Like, if this is gonna be, we're gonna cry. I'm like, all right, look. That's why I feel like sometimes that's a weird, off-putting thing to me, because people see me as that, and they're like, oh, I don't know if he can be a serious person. I'm like, no, I'll sit down and we'll just sit there in the dark and just cry about shit. But I'm like, I may just, you won't even see it come. I'll just throw some little zinger at you, and you're gonna smile, and you're gonna feel better.
But that's the key to good comedy. Relating to people, but making them laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
So you gotta make them feel like you understand them and know what they're going through. Share your shit and then say something funny to make light of it all, and then everybody leaves happy.
Yeah, like we're all laughing about the same thing. We're all laughing about a situation or something that we've heard of, or it's like, yeah, again, you could maybe even relate to it.
Yeah, wait for the comedy
it makes it more real.
2 or 3 years talking about 2020. Yeah,
I'm talking about it right now. I mean, shit.
I'm just saying, wait for that shit in 2 or 3 years when we're past this a little bit more. There's going to be a lot of great comedy all about this shit.
Yeah, if we can't have fun with the last year or so of how things have gone in the world, then we just need to not be anymore.
I would love to see Richard Pryor and George Carlin do a bit about 2020. I mean, fuck, if we could resurrect them for one comedy thing where they both were there, man, fucking A, that would be great.
I'd love to know what they would think about like today's world. I've always thought about that.
Yeah, I don't even think they would need much time to write either. It's just the observation.
No, they
would kill it.
They'd have a field day. They just walk out there and be like, all right, we're going to talk about some shit.
Yeah, these two guys would absolutely kill it. But before we move on to Cora's next selection, I want to talk about a couple people in the chat. What's that Cora's? Oh, well. Well, whoever's next.
Jeremy's next.
Oh, well. We'll get to Jeremy in a minute.
We all kind of shared Eddie Murphy. So.
Yeah, let's say hi to some people in the chat. Coda's Gaming and Podcasters out there. What's up, Coda? He said the harsh truth gives me the Taco Bell splats. I got to have that effect on somebody. Cora, who's on the call. This is hi. Derailed News and Podcast says, we did it, Joe. We did it. 200 subs. Thank you, everybody, for helping us get to 200 subs. I'm very, very happy that happened. Actually, I didn't even notice until right before we were going live, so I didn't have a chance to put a graphic together or anything for it. But thank you guys all.
And Gina and I and Drew all have an excuse to talk about it, so yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, hey, thanks for plugging my shit, guys.
Like I said, you owe Jen a butt touch.
I do. I owe Jen a butt touch. TSS2, one of our good followers in the chat. Let's see. Cora again. Bry Guy. What's going on, Bry Guy? Schleppy13. He's in here saying what's up. Let's see. Nightwatch Zone. He's finished his stream. I'll have to go back and check that out. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were going live at the same time. I might have tweaked the times a little bit, but hey, that's all good. Nightwatch is here, and we're glad to see him. Jabroni Jabber podcast, his stuff's going to be coming up. He's going live here in about a little more than an hour. We're going to see Jabroni Jabber
what are you
podcast.
talking about tonight? I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. He can do whatever. He can talk about shit. He's not going to be talking about. He's not going to be talking about anything nearly as interesting as the shit that we talk about.
Hey.
Oh.
I'm kidding. I'll be watching Jabroni. You guys tonight. You guys know that. And thank you, Jabroni, for
I have
congratulating
to
us on
say,
200
Frank,
subscribers.
the hat you're wearing is very nice on you.
Thank you.
It's
It's
a
one
nice
of my,
hat.
it's one
The
of my
Demolition,
it's one
baby.
of my Demolition Ranch hats.
Very nice.
Actually, it is my only Demolition Ranch hat that I have right now. I meant to order another one and I forgot. But yeah, actually,
I need
for those of you who actually pay close enough attention, usually I wear Demolition Ranch shirts. I know you can't really get a good look at them. I'm actually not wearing.
Oh,
them
I
right
know
now.
you do.
This is one of my.
You need a hat that says you want to buy my lady's cookies? Question mark.
Good. You know,
Post-it note right there.
Jennifer
for the cookies.
Jennifer does make shirts and stuff. That's one of the crafty things that she does.
No, but it'd be funny
Nice.
if you wore one that says "Want to buy my lady's cookies," because then everybody would ask what it meant.
Right. I'll
But it might
send
not be
you
very
her way.
Girl Scouty. I don't know.
I could.
Sorry, Jen.
I'm not even
You're
sure
welcome.
if she's listening right now. She had to go take my son to his mom's house and drop our niece and nephew off. So I don't know, she'll be rolling here at some point. You'll probably hear her being all obnoxious and loud when she comes in because, you know, my studio consists of
never.
my little corner of the living room. So, but yeah,
She's giving you a real big leash there, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm taking over Dan's home office. Every time I come in here, I have to move all his shit off the desk except the monitor and then move it back. So
I
know
had this
what
whole
it's
room
like.
to myself.
Aren't you?
Yeah.
Becky?
Yeah, usually. Whew. I should get it set up a little more so Frank quits asking me every other fucking day. You give me on camera? You give me on camera? You give me on camera? I'm
But
still
that's
setting this shit up, man.
That's the mystique of it all, right?
Well, while you're debating
You don't
on how
want to
you
see my
want
face.
while you're debating on how to settle that up, why don't you give us your next comedian?
Okay, fine. So, all right. I realize I have two here because I have to give a little bit of love to. See, I can make fun of it because it's my own home state of Ohio.
Spit it out, man.
So, first one was Cat Williams.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way first.
No, I had Cat Williams above him. I'm just going down my list. I had to Yeah.
Give us a little bit on Cat Williams.
Well, like I said, he's from Cincinnati, which I actually didn't know. Weirdly enough, I did not know that. I just lost my shit. Damn it. Backed up. My pull-out game was a little too strong. My bad. Hold on. Let me get back in there.
I didn't recognize the name. I don't recognize anything, but I recognize the face from something.
You've probably seen it in like a
But I
GIF or like a
couldn't
meme.
tell
I'm
you
pretty.
fucking-
Well, he was in the third Friday?
No, it was a movie or a TV show
Oh,
or
okay.
something.
He was the guy that owned the pimp store in the third Friday.
Never saw it.
It's funny. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still funny.
No, nothing's gonna beat the first one. Yeah, and
I
again,
don't
this is well, all right.
It might
This
have
is
been
another
some
one
of his, stand-up. Has he been pretty active in stand-up, or was it more a movie career?
Mostly
he's got some
stand
stand-up.
up in the early. I know that
Yeah.
he hasn't been terribly active lately because he's had some, offstage stuff going on. I'm not entirely sure of what it was.
Well, he has 8 kids.
I
Wow.
think that might be part of it, yeah. but
A lot of
Yeah,
kids
you know.
to spend time with.
but
Right.
he also isn't he the one who got beat up by a 12-year-old? I think.
Something like that. I can believe it because he is also kind of a short dude. Like, but I don't know. It's like Cora's like she probably hasn't seen him, but it's like this is one of those guys again. Like I can look at him right now and I can hear his voice in my head. It's like you won't forget his voice. You'll know it when you hear it. I don't know. He's also kind of he's again got a lot of energy. Like he's all over the place on stage and he gets into his act. But he's kind of in your face too. But it does come
Is he
from
like a
like I
darker
said.
version of like Kevin Hart?
I don't know because he does talk about his kids too in the same kind of way.
I
And, like,
actually
shit, the
give
guy-
this guy some mad credit. He adopted 6 kids. He only had 2 biologically.
I was
You
gonna say,
really
wait.
gotta love being a dad to adopt 6 kids. I mean, that's
Yeah,
pretty nice.
yeah. I think he had a daughter and a son, yeah, himself, and then adopted the 6 kids. But yeah, I don't know. This is another guy, like I said, that like if I'm at work and I got time, like man, I'm just sitting there listening, like I said, to Kevin Hart. I'll listen to Fluffy, I'll listen to Jim Jeffries, and I'll listen to Cat Williams too, because it's just I don't know. There's something about it. It's just funny as hell. Also, that weird little thing where you have Little John on stage, and I always appreciate, can I get a yeah? I'm sorry, because people know me for doing that at work. If you hear a Little John somewhere, just yeah, it's me. It's me doing it somewhere at the top of my lungs.
That's what I miss about working with you. It's just like we walking across the playing floor and hear somebody make some random noise in the corner. They're like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "That's Jeremy." Jeremy's just on it today. Don't worry about him.
Let him work it out. We're fine.
One of my favorite bits that Cat Williams ever does when he's talking about the Oscar Pistorius guy. This is before he ended up getting convicted of shooting his woman, but he's talking about poor little Tink Tink. He said, "How the guy with no feet's gonna win a foot race, and then you call him cheating?"
Right.
The man got no feet. He wins a foot race. I love that shit.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of good things.
Just go watch his shit. It's just so funny.
I can't really explain it. I'm just like, sometimes listening to him talk about like I said with his kid. What's that thing you always say? Is like, I think pimp, therefore I am. He's making pimp decisions.
Well, that's one of the things that he said in the Third Friday movie when he was in his shop and he gets knocked over. He goes, "Pimp in distress, code 3, pimp in distress."
Right. I love it.
And we have my 13-year-olds actually in the chat. How you doing, Max? My youngest son who's fighting the ailment currently.
Hey.
He's feeling good enough to come watch us swear probably far too much, but he hears me swear all the time, so I'm not that.
That's okay.
Yeah, don't tell mom.
I think another one of the I was trying to remember something else. I think one of the other funniest things that we often quote at work is from Cat Williams is like when he talks about Shaq and being friends with Shaq. He's like, you know what? This motherfucker got enough money to do what he wants with his life, and what's he want to do? He wants to be a damn sheriff. You can't be a sheriff, Shaq. You are 6 foot 8 foot 12. You dumb if you let Shaq pull you out of the car. I'm like, right. Do you have any drugs? No, Shaq. We know that's your stupid ass. A cover? Right.
How do you go undercover as Shaq?
I know, right? It doesn't work.
I always thought it was funny that fucking Steven Seagal went and did the whole sheriff thing for years.
That's right.
And I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I forgot about that.
How in the hell do you do this? It's like you're rolling around. It's like, you can't just
What's he been doing since the 80s, though? What has he really been doing?
He never went undercover or anything, but I'm just like, dude, you're noticeable. It's like,
right.
You are not just casually rolling around in your car waiting for something to happen. I was like, not only do you have the badge and the uniform on, but you're Steven fucking Seagal. It's like, come on.
Right.
You stand out in a crowd, kid. You have a face that's noticeable, but whatever.
So I have a question while your son's in the chat. Have you introduced Max to any of these old school awesome comedians yet, or are you waiting till he's older? Has he liked any of them?
Kind of wait till he's a little bit older.
He's 13. He can handle it.
Well, I was learning about this stuff way before, younger than him.
Well, so was I, and look how we are now. But hey.
Well, and we grew up in a much different time. I
know.
I mean, I was way younger than him when I had seen movies like Porky's and stuff for the first time. I was probably younger than him when I saw Raw and Delirious for the first time. I was probably about 10 or 11 years old when I saw those for the first time. But and my parents were not. It's kind of, as much as they tried to shelter us, they didn't try as hard as some parents today do. So
I don't think mine even did. They just kind of they would try, but it was kind of like, well, fuck, if he sees it, whatever. And they were cool about it. They didn't really care.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, I wasn't always hanging around my parents. I was with friends and stuff too, family members who were probably a little more lenient on things like that than my parents probably would have liked. But once they find out about it after the fact, they're like, what the hell are we gonna do? He's seen Delirious and Raw and listened to Eddie Murphy talking about somebody screwing Mr. T in the ass. It's like, whatever. What's done is done. Can't undo it now. So you may as well go ahead and get used to those jokes. But,
so when he's older enough, which comedian are you going to introduce to Max first?
I don't know. I kind of let him find this stuff on his own. I mean, all my kids, I kind of let them find it on their own. My 16-year-old, he's already seen some horrible things when it comes to comedians and stuff on TV and whatnot. So I just kind of, as long as he doesn't do anything dumb, he's not overly influenced by it, I just kind of let it go. That's kind of what I do. I'm lucky enough that my kids actually trust me enough to talk to me. So if they need a joke clarified, I'll clarify it for them, and then they may or may not think it's funny after that, but I'll clarify the joke for them.
Yeah.
But we'll move on from Cat Williams, who, as I said, is very, very funny, and you guys should go check out, to one of the comedians that I think he has become known for other things, but you cannot deny that A, when he gets out there, he's funny, and B, he has had a huge impact on comedy as a whole, and that's Keenen Ivory Wayans. Look, for one, he comes from a family of just stupid, funny people.
The whole family are entertainers.
Yeah, he comes from a family of people who have comedy down cold. Now, maybe to an extent, the younger ones got a little bit of a boost because their older siblings were already kind of deep in comedy when they decided to come up. But I can't really knock him for, you don't knock somebody for knowing somebody. I mean, because a lot of life is luck, really. So I don't really fault them because they are funny in their own right. But this guy created In Living Color. And for those of you who aren't quite young enough to remember In Living Color.
And, we can thank him for Jennifer Lopez. She was just a fucking dancer before this show.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
All of you who love her, looking at her, or listen to her music, whatever, you can thank the Wayans brothers.
But there is a large segment of the younger crew, kind of like in Jeremy's age group, that grew up watching the Scary Movie franchise. And guess what family put all those together? The Wayans family, in large part Keenen Ivory Wayans, who I think directed the first two.
Oh wow!
He directed, I know, the first one.
For Jim Carrey being
I was like, and also
because
he was on that show.
Well, Jim Carrey had actually had a certain amount of success before In Living Color. He had done. He had done a movie before that.
Though,
he did some stand-up, though, didn't he?
Well, he had done stand-up, but Jim Carrey had also done Earth Girls Are Easy, I think is what he'd done, with Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum back in the 80s.
But the Wayans brothers were really skilled at finding funny people to bring on their show, though.
Well,
I'm saying he really blossomed in that show, for sure. Like, fucking Fire Marshal Bill.
By far, he got a crazy amount of exposure in that show.
Let me show you something!
Yeah, but, I mean, honestly, In Living Color for its entire run was better than Saturday Night Live. I mean, for all the love that Saturday Night Live gets, when In Living Color was on the air, it was better than Saturday Night Live. It flat out was. It just was. It actually. Is there a way
to watch it online on a streaming service? Because I might want to go back.
I don't know. My dad actually went and bought my mom all I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. Actually went and bought them all on DVD for my mom because she wanted them.
Nice.
Because she was never a big Saturday Night Live fan, but she used to watch In Living Color all the fucking time. That, and I think their sketches were just funnier. They were. I personally think In Living Color, or not In Living Color, but the Saturday Night Live kind of died around 1990. It was great in the 70s and through the 80s, but once you got to 1990, I think they got kind of stale. It became more
about politics.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. Now it is for sure, which is one of the reasons why I don't think it's watchable anymore. But it seemed like they were just kind of resting on their laurels for a long time. Mm-hmm. Like they were just like, I'm Lorne Michaels, I make Saturday Night Live, and you're supposed to watch the show. But then there's been so many. I mean, honestly, I think Mad TV was better than Saturday Night Live when it was on. Seriously, Saturday Night Live has not been as good as people think it is for a long, long time. But
I mean, because whenever I watch it, what am I watching? I'm watching shit on YouTube. I'm watching the shit from the 70s and 80s. I'm just kind of like, nothing really memorable from, like, but where you said from like the 90s on. There's really nothing that stands out to me.
Yeah, but Keenen Ivory Wayans was so talented and so funny and had such a way of writing and putting together and producing all this stuff that he created In Living Color, and it was better than the legendary Saturday Night Live. That's how crazy funny this guy is. And not to mention that, I think even before that, he had done I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, and a couple of other kind of not B-rate movies, but movies that have become kind of cult classics over the years. And
he's probably done a shitload of stuff, like producing and writing, that we don't even realize.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Well, I mean, I think he's been a producer on, like, the Wayans Brothers TV show and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's had his fingers in a lot of pies over the years. It's certainly the things that his family's done. But, I mean, this guy is just so damn funny. I mean, like I said, the last good spoof movies that came out, and I don't think they're great, but I think they're still pretty funny, were the Scary Movie franchise movies. Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3.
That was a weird time where it was still kind of funny. It was kind of still
Yeah,
because I wasn't trying to like compare it to like you said like those movies of like the 80s, but I'm like that was kind of my thing. Like what that I grew up with was like those weird like spoof movies from like the fucking early 2000s, or even something self-aware that's still serious but making fun of it, like Scream, like making fun of the horror genre. It's a weird little snippet of time where it's kind of like, yeah, it's still kind of weirdly funny, but not really meant to necessarily be good. But you know,
absolutely. So yeah, go. Honestly, I don't know where you can find In Living Color on streaming service. I wish I knew where, but like I said, my mom has it on DVD.
The one thing that stood out about that show for me was they opened just like coming out saying, "Hey, we got a good show for you tonight." It reminded and ended that way. It reminded me very much of like old school, like entertainment shows that I grew up watching. You know, like the Dean Martin show and the Sonny and Cher show, and it just had you could tell they were proud of the show. I mean, and Keenan would come out at the beginning of every episode. And, yeah.
It's a little more personal that way, you know?
Yes, it did.
That's why I appreciate Rod Sterling come out there and tell me some shit about the Twilight Zone. I appreciate you, sir.
And now there's a new host. I forget who.
And I'm like, now thank you to Jordan Peele for now doing that same thing.
That's the name.
Who I almost put Key and Peele in here. I thought, I can't not do them separate, but I'm like, they kind of have to be together.
Seen, him with Obama, that scene when he and Obama were both on stage together and he was pretending to be Obama, and it was fucking epic.
Oh yeah, and then like Keegan-Michael Keel's being like his interpreter and shit for Obama. That shit kills me.
Great shit. Sorry, side squirrel moment.
No, that's fine. That's kind of like a little sub. Like I considered putting them on there because they're fucking hilarious to me.
Actually, you guys did just give me an idea for another topic that we could do sometime in the future: is best comedy duos.
Oh, I love it.
Ooh, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost.
I actually just wrote that down on my little list of potential topics because I was like, oh, why didn't I do that before?
Ring-a-ding-ding.
But yeah, definitely go check out all of this guy's stuff. Don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your gin and juice in the hood. I swear to God, I honestly, that was one of the last VHS tapes that I actually bought before I started buying just everything on DVD. And I swear to God, I wore that tape out. Like one day, no shit, I was sitting at home watching the tape flat out broke in the fucking VCR. I was like, damn
my
it.
grandparents weren't big on comedy, but it's not related to this topic fully, but Victor Borga, the piano player who did comedy stuff like while he played the piano, my grandparents loved that shit. They wore out those VHS tapes of Victor Borga. Yeah.
Who was it my dad used to listen to? Lear?
I don't know.
Have
you ever even heard of Victor Borga, Jeremy?
See, no, it doesn't ring a bell right off the bat.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, but I'm like, I mean, maybe if I saw or heard, you know, because same thing might happen. I'm like,
he was an amazing pianist, and he did comedy bits or did like funny stuff while he was playing or made up songs as he went. And of my grandparents' generation, man, they loved that shit.
So like my generation's version of like Jack Black with Tenacious D, just making up bullshit, and making it a song, and just rolling with it.
No, I think he was
Maybe
more.
So.
I think he was a satirist, if that's who I'm thinking
of. Maybe they're saying he's a Dutch American humorist / musician. So not necessarily a comedian, a humorist, a musician. But anyways, the point is VHS tapes getting worn out. I get it. Yeah.
Right. I know what those are because I grew up with them and I still have them.
Because you read about them in a book. I watched a DVD about VHS once.
But I said, "What's a book? What is this? What is this device?"
If it's not on a Kindle, I don't know how to read it.
I'm a little older than you think. Jesus.
I'm advanced.
I'm starting to say
a backlit Kindle.
Look, I'm starting to say that shit now. Or I'm like, I'm a little older than you think, or I know more.
You're well versed in culture, entertainment culture that came before your time.
Right, because that's when it was good.
Exactly.
I'm mad that I didn't get to actually experience it like genuinely.
We sound like old farts, but whatever.
That's okay, I do too.
Well, before we move on and get to the rest of the list, I'm going to go ahead and do our shameless plug for the Patreon.
Oh no.
Well, I got to do it. Nobody's going to know about
I
it if I don't
know.
do it. If you become a Patreon for just $5 a month, you get entered to win our monthly giveaway for $25 in free movie tickets. Now, what that does is it not only gives you a chance to go catch up on some movies, because hopefully we're getting to the point where these theaters are going to start to reopen, the ones that haven't been open for a little while anyway. And what we're hoping to do is really help go support the folks that are working at the box office and the concession stand, these younger kids who are trying to just work their way through life the way that most of us are. We're not doing this to support the production companies or the big theater corporations. We just really need to go to try to support them. So if you get a chance, if you want to spend $5 a month, we give it away the first Thursday show of every month. $25 in free movie tickets to the theater of your choice. So if your theater choice is AMC, Regal, whichever one, I know there's a rave close to me that I go to a lot, things like that. Whichever it is, I will give you $25 to go see movies on us. That's just for supporting the channel for $5 a month. I'm not really looking to make $1 million doing YouTube. That would be nice. So if you guys want to increase that to more than $5, I wouldn't say no. But it just really helps the channel kind of stay self-sufficient. So that way I'm not pouring money into this thing. I just want, this to keep going for as long as I can let it go. And that's one of the things you can do. You can support us, and by supporting us, you get a chance to also go support the local movie theaters and all the people that are working there. So if you want $5 a month, get a chance to win $25 a month in free tickets. And there is my shameless plug for the Patreon. And I do not want the donation scene. I want this one. Now we're going to go back to Miss Cora. I think she's next in line, right? I don't know. I'm lost at this point.
I think you're next.
Yeah.
Am I next?
No.
You are.
No, I just did Keenan Ivory Wayans.
No.
You're next.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
I'm off.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so my next one is Wanda Sykes.
Damn it!
What? What?
It's fine. It's fine.
Is she on your list?
Yes.
You guys had a whole
When I
lot of
said
crossover.
When I said, like, okay, I feel bad taking Pryor out of my list, and I was like, he said woman too. I'm like, yeah, you know what? She's a pretty funny fucking lady. I'll put her on my list. It's fine.
So, then you can just roll into talking about her when I shut up. She's fantastic.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
What I love about her is she just can't be tamed. She's like a wild, feral comedian who just will not be, hampered down by PC filters. She's just fucking as it is. And, how did I word it in my notes? She reminds me of a woman a lot like myself who likes to hang out with the guys and laugh about stuff with the guys and be herself more than trying to just be a woman because that's what she happens to be. And she's just fucking epic. And I love her in the movie. Monster-in-Law is a shitty movie, but she's hilarious in it. And she just brings an energy that is, I don't know, unabashedly unapologetic and fucking hilarious. And she's great. I wish she would do more, but I think she's happy just being herself. But fucking love her. So yeah.
Jeremy,
Jeremy.
Jeremy, go ahead. You obviously had a lot to say.
No, not really. I think she said most of it, to be honest. Yeah, she's, again, just doesn't really, it's like, I'm not going to be held to this, image or standard. It's like, she's just kind of fucking being herself, and that's what's awesome. And the thing, I think the weird thing about with me is I'm like, there's this woman that at work that, like, she's like the person you always start out with. She always trains everybody. I don't know why. She, like, reminds me of her because she, like, sounds like her too, and she still kind of got that, like, sassy black lady kind of edge. And it's, I don't know, for some reason she just reminds me of her. And if I had to, that's what I see.
Nice.
And I mean, I know Frank is going to appreciate the first thing I thought of was fucking Clerks 2. She was, yeah, like she's on the counter and she was the woman who didn't appreciate Randall's bringing back of a certain phrase.
Of a certain phrase.
Which I am not about to repeat.
Do you agree that she just is a fucking comedian and it's not about being a woman talking about ex-boyfriends, periods, and stupid woman shit? I mean, she's just a fucking comedian.
She just talks about it. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of comedy is the approach, and
true.
it's her approach. Kind of, and we kind of talked about it earlier. She's a little brash and in your face, but that's what good comedy is. It's unapologetic, and I think that when you get somebody like her who's just unapologetic about finding the humor in a situation, it makes talking about it that much better. It makes the comedy that much more that much more meaningful. So. Yeah, I think Wanda Sykes is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
hope she does another big special sometime soon. I love her.
I thought I had heard something about her doing some stuff, but I think it was one of the things that may have gotten screwed up because of the pandemic. They didn't want to, they weren't filming any live things for a while. They kind of just canceled everything and were waiting to see how things played out. Because I'm pretty sure sometime last spring that I had read something about her making a deal with somebody for another stand-up, but
Gotcha.
or some kind of a special somewhere. But whether she's doing another hour and a half of stand-up, whether she's going to be in a TV show or a movie, I don't care. I think she's funny as shit. Jabro Jabber says that scene was great. You can't taste racism, baby. Her and Earthquake, who is another great comedian, which I think is funny. You can't taste racism.
I ain't taking this food. Shit, I will. I bet I told you. The judge told you about that.
It's okay though, because we're bringing it back.
It's okay. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, Wanda Sykes is absolutely fucking hilarious. So, any final thoughts on Wanda Sykes?
Please come back.
please come back on screen soon.
Put her in Clerks 3 since he is apparently doing that, and I'm like, I need that meme of Hawkeye where it's like, don't do that, don't give me hope. Please don't play with me like that.
I'll go on the internet and make one as soon as we're done with the show.
Thank you, because I need that meme in so many of these things I keep saying. I'm like, don't do that, don't give me hope. Please don't be fucking with me right now.
I'll get right on top of that. But let's see, it's my turn now, isn't it?
Yeah, we shared Wanda.
Technically me, but yes, that would be yours now since we got that. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the comedian that we lost far too soon, and that's Patrice O'Neill. Look,
yeah.
You want to know how funny this guy was? Raise your hand. One in the chat if you are a fan of the show The Office.
Love it.
The Office or Arrested Development.
Fucking both. Oh my god, the guy in the warehouse. Fuck yes.
No. This is not the guy in the warehouse.
Oh.
That's somebody else. That's somebody else. But Patrice O'Neill was so funny that he got offered full-time roles in The Office and Arrested Development and turned them down.
Damn, dude.
Why did he?
He from what I read, he just didn't want to be tied down to that. He wanted to be available to go do his own thing. But he was actually.
I respect that, but
he didn't want to be. He just didn't want to be tied down to. I think part of it was, from what I had read, that they were actually going to kind of. They had said when they were making him the offer that they didn't want him to be.
He's dead, right?
I do know he's dead. Yes, that's why I said we lost
terrible.
him too soon. But
he did say that, yeah.
But I think part of it was because he didn't want anybody to kind of hold back his comedy. He wanted to do what he was going to do, and he wasn't going to let anybody get in the way. And I think maybe hooking up on The Office or Arrested Development was going to stop him from maybe being as out there as he wanted to be with his comedy. So he decided to turn them down. Now
he was a purist.
He was a little bit of a
acting.
purist.
He just did the fucking
stand-up. Well, he wanted to do what he was doing, and I don't blame him for that. I mean, do what you do.
I don't either. How many other comedians can you think of have been a purist so that they didn't do the acting route even part-time?
Joe Rogan doesn't.
They're really got big.
Joe Rogan doesn't. He said he hates acting now. He won't do it again.
Fair enough.
But Patrice O'Neill, he was huge on Opie and Anthony. If you're a regular on Opie and Anthony, which is one of the most popular radio shows in the country, you're probably not doing bad. He also had his own show on XM for a long time, which originally was called Bitch Management, but they changed it to something else. Personally, I think Bitch Management is a funnier title, and I'm stuck with that.
I mean, yeah.
But that's just me. But for those of you in the community who are wrestling fans,
what being married is? Joking. A married woman said that.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, my girlfriend's now in the chat. You'll have to ask her if I practice good bitch management. But I don't know if she's within earshot of me right now. But I'm sure she'll be in the chat in a minute, probably saying some horrible things. But for those of you in the community who are wrestling fans, know this: in the late 2000s, he actually took a writing position with the WWE. Because he was a big fan of wrestling. He actually pitched an idea for building a feud over 3 weeks that culminated in one of the pay-per-view events, and wrestling put it in there. So he was a writer for the WWE for a short time.
Oh my god.
And they actually offered him a full-time writing gig, and he told them no. Because he wanted because he was going to take time away from his comedy.
Free
I like
spirit.
in that though. I kind of when you said The Office and Arrested Development, he turned it down. I'm like, I kind of thought you said like he wanted to do his own thing and not be tied down to like say someone else writing it or making a joke for him. I can
Sounds like
respect
he
that.
just wanted to do free spirit comedy when he
Yeah,
wanted.
but I'm like with that, I'm like you were the one writing stuff, man. Like I don't know, doesn't mean it's not like it's not something that came from you. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think
Maybe
part
just
of
do
it
his own
probably
thing.
is I understand that some comedians will let people kind of dull down their jokes to make them work on TV because they've got to understand that there's some things you can't say on TV. Like Eddie
There's
Murphy.
7 words you can't say on TV.
Yeah, well, a couple of them you can now, but
Well,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, I'm sure even like Eddie Murphy knows you can't, go on broadcast TV and talk about, fucking Mr. T in the ass. I mean, I'm sure he knows that, but you can, however, go out on your thing and say it. And I think part of it was he's like, I want to be funny, but I want to be my kind of funny. And while he likes things like The Office and Arrested Development and would love to be a part of them, and being a fan of wrestling, I'm sure he would have loved to have been a full-time writer with WWE. He was just like, I really want to go do what I do the way I want to do it. And he was already tremendously popular when he was doing all this, when all this came up. So why? I mean, if you're somebody like you and me who's bouncing around open mic nights and somebody offers you a job writing or starring on The Office and Arrested Development, it's great. But when you've already kind of arrived and you can do your own thing on your own terms, why tie yourself down? It makes sense, even if it is something successful like one of those things.
I guess that makes sense.
That's
If
just
it's
my
really,
opinion.
if it's like selling out in a way, like maybe you just kind of feel like, oh, well, now I've made it, but I've made it to where now I'm just kind of stuck here.
Well, you've
But
made it to
maybe
the
he
point where you
just
can do it on
wanted
your own
to-
terms.
Yeah.
But maybe he just had a passion for just the raw comedy side of it and didn't want to be boxed in.
Just getting out there and fucking talking to people, making them laugh.
I mean,
Like,
did
I
he
get
have a
that.
normal day job and this was a shit he did on the side?
Well, his normal day job was comedy. He was already tremendously successful when he got those
Okay.
offers.
Well, if he didn't need the money, why the fuck conform? You
Yeah,
know?
really. I think Patrice O'Neill. I mean, go check out some of his stuff on YouTube or wherever you could find it. I mean, even and like Joe Rogan calls him one of the best comedians he's ever heard. One of the best pure comedians. The guy is just damn funny. And he's had a couple of bits that had me rolling that I like stumbled because every now and again I'll go onto YouTube and I'll just like type in stand up in the search bar just to see what comes up and watch different people. And I went down this rabbit hole of Patrice O'Neill one night and he was just killing me. He almost got a spit take out of me one time. You know how hard it is to get a spit take out of me? It's like he shocked me to the point where I was like, holy shit. Yeah, I had to stop myself from spitting my drink all over the place. But yeah, he is tremendously funny. And if you guys get a chance to go check him out, you absolutely should. Again, somebody we lost far too soon. But, again, it's one of those things. It should be a reminder to check your health. I mean, he had like type 2 diabetes or something like that. I think he'd even done some comedy bits about his health.
See, that's the thing. Like, you gotta, it's something that happens to you. You gotta find the funny side of it. You just really gotta make fun of it and just, because again, there's something like type 2 diabetes. Like, people have that. But hearing his experience and hearing him tell you it,
Agreed.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you feel better. You don't feel like alone. You're like, oh yeah, I get it. This guy fucking gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Who do you got next, Miss Cora?
Well, it'll be my last one since Kevin Hart was
Since
shared.
we keep sharing them.
We should
We
be
kind of
talking- we should be
vicariously
talking-
shared Pryor.
I know we should talk before we talk to Frank, but
Yeah.
it's fun this way. My last one is Bernie Mac, and I say last
Ooh.
because for me,
Someone else we lost too, right? Like,
yeah. Whether
too
it be a
soon.
stand-up or a self-named scripted TV series, the Bernie Mac show, where, okay, here's the thing. I like that show just for the bits where he's sitting in that confessional style, like vlogging room, where he goes, America. And then he preaches some random shit that's funny, talking about American family life. I didn't really care about the storyline of him raising his nieces and the fake wife on the show. Of course I watched it, but it was the little nuggets that kept me coming back to that show. And it's just something about him was fantastic. He's mainstream with relatable content, but he wasn't racy or raunchy like other comedians, but he was just as fucking funny. And it felt more mature and everyday than, say, edgy, but it was just as valuable. Loved him in the Ocean's movie, loved Mr. 3000 and all the other little small roles he's had here and there. And if he hadn't have died, man, I think he'd still be rocking this shit.
I was like, Soul Man, because I almost said Samuel L. Jackson, but I felt like that was too much of a cop-out again.
But yeah, this guy, I love Bernie Mac, and when I did the list, I was like, this is the one I'm going to end on because, yeah. Underappreciated, in my opinion. High-end quality comedian. And that's all I'll say about it.
He is one of the kings of comedy, after all.
He is.
And that whole stand-up routine is classic.
Because everybody knows. But yeah.
Yeah, that whole stand-up was just classic. All four of those comedians were just absolutely hilarious. And I struggled not to put Cedric the Entertainer on my list, but again, I thought it was kind of a cop-out just to go to the names. I wanted to try to find some other people. That's why I kind of went to Patrice Jones, because he's been, passed away for a couple of years now. I want to try to do my part to help keep him in the consciousness. Because his stuff is so funny.
I almost said Steve Harvey, because Steve Harvey cracks me the fuck up. And lately, I don't know why they've been all over YouTube, but just like little clips from like fucking Family Feud. I'm just dying.
I got stuck on one of those the other night.
Can I share with you real quick?
Yeah.
Can I share with you one of my favorites real quick?
Good.
Okay, so they were doing an NFL special, and I forget, it was Stephon Diggs was his name, and he was a Vikings player at the time, and he's up there doing the quick, for points towards the end.
Like a lightning round.
Right, and the thing was, and Steve Hart goes, things women will say at the end of the sentence, and Steve Harvey said, but anyways, Stephon Diggs said, leave it in. And he meant like a girl telling him not to pull his dick out. And he said that live on the fucking show. And then you should see Steve Harvey's face. It's like, what?
Right. It's like, it's that face. Someone says some crazy shit. He's just like, he's just like, y'all need Jesus.
And he goes like, that boy just said, leave it in. And then when he goes up to the board, because this was like 3 or 4 answers in, so he still had other stuff to do. Yeah, you're not getting any points, boy. Not for this one. And I was like,
you get points with me. That was good.
Shit. I'll send you the link. It's fucking epic. But anyways, the point is, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, Steve Harvey's fucking hilarious. I think that Steve show Harvey would not even be doing as well if it wasn't for him and his comedy and how he relates to the contestants, because it would just be dry and boring.
I think there's a way that show specifically. I think the hosts have they have a hard job at how to react to some of these crazier answers. Because I know Richard Dawson back in the day, whenever somebody would come up with a really funny answer, like, what's the most uncomfortable place to have sex? And somebody's like, in the back of a Volkswagen. Jeremy gets that joke.
Yes.
But when somebody says something absolutely outrageously funny, it's not that you overreact, and that's kind of one of the things that Steve Harvey does, is his overreaction sometimes is funny, but it's like that look on your face where you're like, motherfucker, like, how am I supposed to respond to what this person just said?
Right. Well, I would say the classic, name something you don't want to see if someone breaks into your house, and the guy goes, naked grandma! He was on it. And Steve's like, what? Why? And he turns around, and there it was, and he's like, that's the, really? Oh, you gonna play? All right. That guy was so happy with his answer. He was like, "Yeah, Grandma." I'm like, Jesus Christ! You just gotta shake your head sometimes. That's what he does with these fucking people.
One of the great things about Bernie Mac, though, one of the things that I always appreciated about him is of all the comics that we mentioned, and I mentioned it earlier that some of the best comedians, their comedy comes from pain. This guy's pain that he experienced over the course of his life was kind of a different level. A lot of people may or may not realize, because he talked about it openly several times before he passed away, that the Bernie Mac show, a lot of that was based on things that he'd actually dealt with over the course of his life, like having to take in his sister's kid because she was hooked on all kinds of drugs and was having serious problems and couldn't care for him. And there was things that came about from bringing his sister's kid in, and all the hardships of having to try to get her clean and stuff like that. He turned all those really bad things that nobody wants to deal with, that are very negative things, into his comedy. So that whole adage about some of the best comedians come from places of pain, this is the prime example of that actually being the case.
Okay, now I'm getting. I see. I didn't know that it was real. I thought it was kind of just scripted stuff, kind of like I don't know, but it makes more sense now. I've thought about, since you mentioned the topic for the week, going back and rewatching the Bernie Mac show from start to end. So I'll have to look for that, the little subtle things about his life there.
Yeah, he actually talks about it a lot over the course of a lot of his stand-up. He took some of these things from his life, because I don't think it was just that. I think there were some things involving his parents too. I'd have to go back and look, but there was things involving his parents too, and things like that. He turned all these situations that we would look at and be like, damn, that guy really went through all this shit. He took all that stuff and found some way to make it all funny, to where not only to make us laugh at it, but to help him kind of laugh at it himself and to get past it all. And that's the hardest thing to do, because a lot of people aren't good at getting past their own drama. This guy turned into a career. He turned into a career making fun of his own drama. And his drama is a lot harder than what a lot of people are going through right now.
And he had a little known role that is one of my favorites of his. He was the car salesman in the first Transformers movie.
He was the car salesman. He did sell Bumblebee
Fucking
to
hilarious.
Yes, to the crazy kid. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite, like, lesser known moments for him. Yeah. So
I recall, and I don't know, I think I heard him say it, that they actually wanted him back for the sequel to play like another cameo, because he was already famous, and they were like, well, let's go ahead and get famous Bernie Mac in here, and maybe we'll sell 5 more tickets that way. And I think they actually talked to him about coming back and doing another cameo, but he had a scheduling conflict and couldn't do it or something like that.
He was filming Ocean's 11 right around Ocean's 13.
That might be
right.
That might be about it.
I don't know, but and I do remember George Clooney saying there's no way in hell they're ever going to make an Ocean's 14 because Bernie Mac's gone. They wouldn't do it without him. That was kind of heartwarming.
Yeah, I would rather them not do another one without Bernie Mac. Well, and also Carl Reiner's dead now, I believe, too.
He is. Yeah.
So of
Makes
the entire crew,
the whole thing.
Yeah, the entire crew. You've got 2 of those guys that are gone now. It's like and the chemistry in that is absolutely phenomenal. So to have 2 of those guys gone, it's like I don't know if you can do this again without.
Have you ever done a review of the 3 movies together collectively?
Not collectively, no. Haven't gotten to that point yet. I think
if you ever want to, I'm totally down for that. I've seen all 3, including the original one with Frank Sinatra. So that's 4.
Well, the original one I've thought of doing. The original one I've thought of doing, because I actually think it's a pretty good movie.
With the Rat Pack?
I actually like the ending of that movie better, to be honest. I think the
yes, I know what that is.
Oh, I know. Can I say it? Oh, well, I'll wait till you record a video about it.
Well, save it. We don't want to spoil it, because it's actually a really, really good ending. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But, yeah, Jabroni Jabber he's bouncing out of the chat. He's got to get ready for his show, which starts here in about a half hour. You guys can find the link to his channel in the description below, as always. But Jeremy, do you have anybody left that we haven't talked about already?
Yes, I have one left, because we
haven't talked about him already. Yes, my final one, and I will tell you once again, somebody else from this semi-great state, Dave Chappelle.
I was just talking to Schleppy in the chat. He actually is on my honorable mention shortlist. Did you watch his most recent thing he did about the pandemic, where he actually filmed it outside with people socially distanced?
No, I have not.
It's on Netflix, and it's more on the serious side, but fuck, it's worth a watch.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I feel like this dude can do serious, but I mean, he started talking about like the Dave Chappelle show and like shit, some of his characters that he's made and the little skits. Has me fucking dying. I mean, even I didn't believe it. Somebody I think it was on SNL. Someone told me he did a little skit for like fucking Walking Dead where he was Negan, and I'm like, what? Wait a minute, I have to see this shit. And they even make fun of it. They're like, like, oh, a black Negan. All right. I'm like, oh. And even Jeffrey D. Morgan said he fucking was dying at his portrayal of his own character. Thought he nailed it.
When you can impress somebody who plays that iconic character by doing a bit of a caricature of it, that's always a good
right.
thing.
Yeah, he's like even made it his own kind of thing too. Cause he had all his little characters from the fucking Dave Chappelle show. Because he was saying that, like, he's like, everyone was asking me, am I gonna bring back some of them characters? And he's like, well, here you go. There's all of them right here.
Yeah, Chappelle. Yeah. A lot of people think that Chappelle is up there as maybe the best comedian ever. I don't know that I put him up there past Pryor. I don't know that I put him up there past.
I say he's in the same.
He's up there.
Like echelon.
He's up
of
there.
Them.
He's
for his time, even. I think he's up there, even. Like
he's most certainly in the elite class.
Yeah.
But he's also had phases where he disconnects from the audience and just steps aside, which he has every right to do. But I don't know. He's great. Don't get me wrong, but to me, he's great. But I would not. I don't know. I don't think I could put him above Richard Pryor, like you said.
No, I'm saying, yeah, he's up there for sure.
But
like in his own right.
He said something very interesting in that last thing I told you about. You'll have to watch it, but he makes a point to say that he's aware that he's maybe not the right person to represent the people anymore, and he's almost wanting to pass it off to younger comedians. So when he said that, it made me think, I wonder if he's about to take a step back.
Well, he's talking about
he did
opening
kind of
a comedy
disappear there
club.
for a bit. He did disappear there for a while, didn't he? Because he kind of just like stepped aside for a little bit, and then he kind of came back, and he was kind of more. I don't know.
He hinted he doesn't think he can relate to the younger people as much as he would like, and he thinks younger comedians can do a better job than him, and that's what he literally said. Like
he knows what he's like. He knows what he's doing, but like he probably knows that classic. You know when to fold him. Like maybe that's what he's thinking.
I just think he wants to move on to different kinds of comedy. I know that I'm pretty sure I heard him talking about how him and Darnell Rawlings, who is another great African American comedian that you guys should watch. He's funnier than shit. That they were thinking about opening a comedy club, believe it or not, in Yellow Springs, Jeremy, which is 10 minutes up the road from me.
Right, same. I just like a half hour from me. I'm like, fuck yeah. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be phenomenal.
God, I would be there in a fucking heartbeat, man.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I would totally go there. But he says that Jeremy reminds us that he is from Ohio. I don't know if Jeremy pointed out, he is actually from like right here, our neighborhood. He lives in this town called Yellow Springs, Ohio, which is literally about 15-20 minutes down the road from me. Mm-hmm. And I've actually seen him several times. Jeremy up here by the Beaver Creek Mall, there's a Chipotle. I've actually seen him in that Chipotle.
Right, like he's
He actually
seriously,
and across the street, he actually works out at the gym that's across the street from there. He ordered a veggie burrito because I was right behind him in line, and I was just like, "Oh, what's up, Dave?" Because I actually know somebody who knows him, not very well, but knows him from Yellow Springs, and me and her were talking about him one night, and I was kind of asking about him because I think my brother has actually hung out with him one time years ago when he was in Yellow Springs hanging out with some friends of his, but she was telling me, she's like, he doesn't like to be treated like he's a star. And having had this conversation with her so many years earlier when I ran into him at Chipotle, he kind of looked at me wondering if I was going to recognize him. And I looked at him, I was like, "Oh, say what's up, Chappelle." He goes, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I was like,
"I'm just going to talk to him like he's cool." Like, yeah, I feel like he's cool. Like, and I kind of was going to say that next. I'm like, I feel like he's one of those people who's just like, you don't have to treat me like I'm like a fucking star. I would still get starstruck. I'd be like, "Oh my god, it's Dave Chappelle." I'd just be like, "Hey, what's up?" But he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm just, I'm here.
Yeah, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, actually works out at the same gym that he works out up the LA Fitness up here in Beaver Creek. So he sees him fairly regularly when he's in town. He says he's talked to him here and there, but doesn't really talk to him a whole lot because they're all. My brother-in-law is one of those weightlifting heavy weightlifter guys. He's very serious about his craft, and I guess one of the things that they do when they're in the gym is they don't talk much. They just want to concentrate on doing their thing. Gorilla's not in the chat right now, so he wouldn't be able to attest to any of that, but I'm sure he would if he were here right now. At least I haven't seen Gorilla. No, I don't think he's here. But But yeah, I've heard he's a really, really cool guy. But again, he's kind of an introspective comedian. One of these people that takes a bit of lately anyway, the last several years as he's gotten older, he's become a bit more of a philosophical comedian. Like he did the after the what was it? After the Dayton shooting, I think it was. It happened down here at the Oregon district.
The Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, was it shortly after that he did his little half-hour long thing, which he actually put out for free on YouTube if you guys can find it. Where it was a much more serious tone thing, but he did throw a few jokes in there, which were well timed to help get his point across. But I think as he's gotten older, he has become more of an introspective kind of comedian rather than just going out there and deliver body punchline, body punchline, body punchline. That he's kind of drug it out and made longer points of his comedy. So his comedy has changed to something else, but he's still funny. But he has become thought-provoking at the same time. So, and I can dig that. People who are trying to use their medium, especially if they're really good at it, to make larger points, I can dig that. I can dig that.
Yeah, someone's willing to listen to you, and you agree with them. I'm here for it.
I didn't agree with some of his takes on it, socially on some of the stuff, but I'm like, damn, the way this guy puts it out there, it's very, even as somebody who didn't agree with a lot of what he was saying, I found it very palatable, and I was like, I could listen to this guy talk all fucking day. Like agree or disagree. I could just listen to this go for a while. Because he was I found myself wanting to listen to what he had to say, but again, he is so damn funny, and I do like how he has evolved a lot past he played pinball in Con Air from movies like How High and shit like that into doing other things. I mean, he has evolved a lot as a comedian and as an overall talent, which I find fantastic. I mean, the guy's, like I said, the guy's stupid talented. And he has talked about opening a comedy club over in YS, and I'm like, I will be there opening night, dude. I don't give a shit. I don't care what it costs me. I'm there opening night.
Right. I'll fucking go. I love that.
Yeah, have we, I think we've exhausted our entire list of comedians, have we not?
Yeah. I'm glad I picked him as the one that's a little more kind of close to home.
Yes.
Oh, no, I have one. I'm sorry. I forgot I have one more left.
Oh, God damn it.
I was sitting here looking at my list. Was like, I feel like I missed somebody, and I don't want to miss anybody. I got to remember where the person is here. There they are. And I don't want to miss anybody because, all these comedians are really, really funny. And I will
say I've seen several people mention the Czech Chris Rock.
Not
my cup of tea sometimes because he's like, I don't know what the word is. It's like it's either, I don't know if it's his loud voice or it just feels like he's screaming all the time, but I don't know.
Well, at least he's not like Chris Tucker screaming. That's different.
That's true.
I think it's a style.
I just want to give a shout out to the people who are Chris Rock fans and show some love there for you guys.
Oh, Chris Rock is funny, and I very easily could have put him on this list. But like I said, I wanted to try to go after... I wanted to make sure that one of the older guys was represented. That's why I kind of went with... I mean, I figured one of you guys was going to bring up Richard Pryor, but I wanted to make sure he was on my list. And then also I thought Patrice O'Neill deserved a shout-out because he was so great. God rest him. His comedy was fantastic. But there is somebody else I want to point out real quick. Because I was trying to find a woman to put on my list, and I almost went Wanda Sykes, but I was just like, I feel like I want to give this woman some love, because despite the fact that some of her properties have not done well, she is tremendously funny, and that's Leslie Jones. For one, I know that I've kind of shit on Saturday Night Live a couple of points over this stream, but the reality is you don't get a job on Saturday Night Live by being a schlub. The comedians themselves are actually pretty good. Not only is she on Saturday Night Live, but she's been around for a while. And she is one of the people that Lorne Michaels is trying to put out there on her own to help to really kind of build her career. He's really trying to put her over, to use the wrestling term, as so many of you guys will understand. Not only that, but, I mean, let's face it. The Ghostbusters movie that came out, the all-girl Ghostbusters movie, it did not... Seen it. It was not a good movie. But it was not... It did not fail because of the lack of talent. The women in that movie... It's
not their fault.
Yeah, the women were absolutely fantastic in the movie. The movie itself was just poorly planned, poorly done, poorly written. It was just not a good... It was not a good... It doesn't matter how good a paintbrush and how good a paint you use. If the painter can't fucking paint, it's going to look like shit. and that's kind of what it was. Yeah, I mean,
disappointed in all of you.
yeah, it's like I could use all the stuff that Bob Ross used to paint, but my trees are not going to look like happy little trees. They're going to look kind of bad.
They're not gonna be as happy.
They're going to be sad little twigs, not happy little trees.
Sad trees.
Look, Leslie Jones is fucking funny. And it's interesting to me because she's only really in the last like 5 or 6 years really kind of been put out there to really kind of grow. And I hope she grows a lot. She is one of the people that is going to be in Coming to America too. And Eddie Murphy chose her for this movie. Now, when one of the great comedians of a generation looks at you and says, I want you to be in my movie, and not just any movie, a sequel that people have been wanting for 2 decades or more.
Right.
When he looks at you and says, I really want you to be my movie, how the hell do you not look at that and say, that girl's got fucking talent?
I looked her up on Wikipedia. Chris Rock discovered her in a small little comedy club, and Cat Williams took her on tour. So clearly she's got something. I'm just not a fan. I'm not going to lie. There's something abrasive that maybe I can't put my finger on it other than that, but not a fan, but I'm not saying she's bad. It's just, you know how, well, I'm sure there are comedians that most people like that you guys don't like. There's something about it. Entertainment
is objective. Some people find things entertaining, and other people won't find that thing entertaining. That's okay.
I think it's great though that she's included in and I'll look forward to watching it. Maybe I'll grow to like her more from her role in the new movie.
I tend to gravitate a little bit towards the abrasive stuff though, the in-your-face stuff, the Wanda Sykes, the Cat Williams, the stuff like that. It attracts me because I kind of like it. I don't want people pulling punches in comedy. I don't care. I don't care what you're joking about. I think you can joke about almost anything as long as you do it the right way. And sometimes when you're talking about some things, that upfront, in your face abrasiveness is kind of the best way to approach a subject.
I think the other problem is that it's like, yes, I feel like you should be able to make fun of pretty much anything or joke about anything in whatever way you want, abrasive or otherwise. But I think that the thing that you have to, there needs to be an understanding that like it is a joke, like that you're just supposed to laugh at it because you just think it's funny and you understand like what I'm trying to tell you right now. And that's the problem I think that some people have. They're just like, oh, I don't like that because it upsets me. I'm like, yeah, but it's just a joke, man. Like I don't really like. Someone like Jim Jeffries, who's the same way. It's like, I don't believe in this stuff. I'm not saying that I go out and do these things. It's a fucking joke. It's something I wrote down to make you laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem.
I think she's hilarious, and I think over the course of the next 5 or so years, we can really see her career blow up, especially if she's allowed to really kind of... She's allowed to grow. I don't want her to become one of the victims, because she's not yet to that point where she's got that little bit of a shield to where she can joke about whatever she wants. And I'll admit, one of the reasons that I kind of turned my attention towards her and started to pay her a lot of attention is because she did deal with a lot of bullying that came up after that really horrible Ghostbusters movie that was very unwarranted.
She had to leave social media, and I was like, come on, I don't care who you are. I don't care how bad the movie was even at this point. Like, you fucking bullied somebody off of social media. It's not her fucking fault. Like, why are you attacking her? Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of online bullying. I think it's just stupid. But that's one of the things that turned my attention towards her, and I started to really kind of pay attention to some of her stand-up stuff and to some of her Saturday Night Live skits. I'd go find a few of them online, and she's super funny. It's like, because I remember I was watching the Coming to America sequel trailer a couple of days ago, the newer one that came out during the Super Bowl, and I was thinking to myself, she fits these roles really, really well. It's like she can be that kind of undersensitive, overbearing kind of person who finds himself in this funny situations, and it's going to work for her. And if you're a comedian, you have to select your roles. If you step into the movies and TV area, you have to select your roles very carefully, because you can very easily find yourself kind of out of your depth. I think because even Adam Sandler, as funny as he is, he had to kind of, once he stepped out of the comedy and started doing a little bit more kind of dramatic and real acting, it took him a couple of movies to really find his groove. Because there was a couple of movies that I just didn't think were like Punch Drunk Love. A lot of people have kind of liked, but I'm like, that was his first foray into like the pure dramatic stuff, and it didn't really work for me. Not because Adam Sandler can't act, he absolutely can, but he had to find his footing in that. And I was so used to seeing him as Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Seeing him do anything
Big
even
Daddy.
slightly serious was a bit, yeah. Seeing him do anything even slightly serious, it took me a minute to get used to it. But I think she's one of those people that if you allow her to go out there and grow, she can be tremendously funny. But again, I'm one of those people that kind of likes that very abrasive, upfront, in your face kind of comedy. Like I'm a big fan of
Stupid.
guys. I'm a big fan
Like,
of guys like.
Do you remember when we played Cards Against Humanity? That's what it's like.
Yeah, it's like, I want to play Cards.
There's some fucked up shit.
But I'm a big fan.
God.
I'm a big fan of the George Carlins, of the Sam Kinnisons and shit like that. Those are the comedians that I love the most. So that's the kind of comedy that I like. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm attracted to her as a comedian.
Well, I'm gonna go back and watch some of her stuff because maybe I was judging her on something small that is not the big picture of a career. So.
Look, as bad as that movie was, she is really funny in the Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
She has some of the funniest scenes in that movie. The performances weren't the problem. The movie was the problem. It was just a bad movie.
Well, that can be said about like the Wanda Sykes role in Monster-in-Law with Jane
Fonda.
Jane Fonda?
Yeah. Fonda. She's fucking hilarious. Like, everybody knows Jane Fonda is Hollywood royalty, right? And Wanda Sykes gets to roll in and play a character where she's literally yelling at Jane Fonda, "You better not fucking drink. Come on, give me the booze. Give me the booze." You know, she's bossing Jane Fonda around. It's worth watching that just for that alone.
That's one of the cool things about Wanda Sykes, though, is that she, not having the length and of career and the great background of someone like Jane Fonda, can still walk onto a movie with Jane Fonda and get in her face and act across from her and not be back down at all. Because I wouldn't be able to step in there against somebody who's legendary like that, who's been around for 3, 4, 5 decades and has got statues on the wall and plaques and awards.
Right. I'd be afraid to drop that F-bomb.
And not feel a little bit intimidated. But the fact that she's, like I said, she's in your face. She's not afraid to really get into that whole comedy thing and really throw herself at it and at you as a viewer is one of the things that attracts me to those kinds of comedians.
Have Wanda and it's Leslie, what's her last name again?
Leslie Jones.
I wonder if they've ever done something together, like a comp. That'd be hilarious.
Off the top of my head, I do not know, but if they did it, I'd go see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely go see it. But I think we've exhausted our entire list of comedians for tonight. I didn't think it would take this long. I didn't think we'd go a full 2 hours since we had so many crossovers on the list. But hey, we still did it.
Tangent squirrel moments.
We did, and I let him go a little bit because I wanted to make sure we filled the time. But hey, we had a good time. It was a good discussion. I like it. Anyway, any final thoughts on any of the comedians we've talked about tonight?
Love them all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what era you're watching in and whatever subjects we're talking about, man. You can still find a fucking laugh in there somewhere.
Yeah, no doubt. Honestly, if this last year, I've talked about it a lot. This last year, we need things to laugh at. We need to find some positive things. Go check out some of these comedians. Find something to laugh at. And remember that as bad as things have been for many of us over the course of the last 12 months or so, some of these people went through a lot more than us, and they're finding ways to laugh about it. So over the course of the next couple of years, some of these comedians, maybe a few of the comedians we've talked about today, are going to go out there. They're going to make fun of COVID. They're going to make fun of whatever, of quarantines and of vaccine rollouts, and they're going to take all these things that the news is telling us to be afraid and concerned about, and they're going to make us laugh at it. So I look forward to the days where one of these many comedians that we talked about are going to make me laugh at all the things that right now are worrying me. So bring those days on. I'm glad we have some of the comedians that we've talked about tonight to do that for us in the future. And I'm also very, very glad that we've had some of the comedians that we've talked about tonight that are no longer with us, because they really are kind of a time warp back to a simpler time when you could laugh at race jokes told by African-American comedians, and we don't have to, they didn't have to censor themselves. They could just say it and be funny, and we felt okay to laugh at it. That's so, it's okay to laugh. Go laugh every chance you get. We all need to laugh to get through the hardness of life. So, I mentioned earlier, you laugh to keep from crying. What do you rather do? I'd much rather laugh. That's why the comedians are important. But before we go, Cora, why don't you tell us, you got a podcast getting ready to drop tonight over on the Derailed Patreon. What'd you guys talk about?
Yes. Well, we talked about sports, which is in the preview that Drew played on the preview on YouTube. We talked about Girl Scout cookies. We talked about life in general, our experiences of being teenagers. We talked about, it's a more serious episode, and we plan on keeping it light for the foreseeable future, but we did talk about the idea of feminist entitlement, women who, and the movement of women who want to be better than men, who want to trash men and make men look bad. And we did some looking up in statistics and found out the three of us, we're the fucking minority. According to research, folks, we are part of the 8% of American women who think the feminist movement has had its time, is done, and needs to stop because we've had enough progression. So
That's
that
the
was
fucked
really
up part.
telling. Oh, I know. It was very telling. And so we just discussed it. It was kind of a venting session, kind of a we hate stupid women. And we gave examples about things. And I guess it's a way of getting to know what kind of women we are. But in no way was it a joke, but it was also a little lighthearted. But anyways, it's a long conversation. We do almost a full hour on the main topic.
See,
So,
I'm glad you guys talked about that, because it's like, if I talked about it or Frank talked about it, that would have been a shit show, because it's coming from a man's mouth. You know what I mean?
right. And that's
I'm
that's
like,
part of
you
what
won't
we
listen
talked
to me
about.
if I say it. If I make a good point like that.
It's part of what we talked about, the unfair double standards. We talked about a lot.
That doesn't happen.
There's a lot to unpack. But then we kept it light towards the end. We had a nice Q&A session with some really good questions people submitted, and we are going to start doing those long shows every other week as we've started, and then on the off week we're going to do a short one topic 20-30 minute episode that's going to be released free on YouTube every week. So we're going to be weekly starting next Monday. So,
and Jeremy, you've been doing some gaming. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, and Drew's Patreon has a lot of other good shows. The Rose Gaming is pumping out some really good content himself. And Jesse and Drew got some stuff going on, I think, on Joe's Patreon. And then it's just, there's a lot of cool stuff. And I'm really looking forward to the WandaVision ones we're doing. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff, good stuff going on.
Yes, WandaVision review coming up again, probably on Tuesday for the episode that's going to be dropping tomorrow. And who knows what we're going to have to talk about for that episode. Also, Jeremy does some gaming over on Twitch. What have you been doing lately?
Trying to not die within 5 minutes of a Warzone game because people totally don't use hacks, but, you know, good time.
Sounds like Fortnite.
I don't know. Fortnite's not as, I don't know. Doesn't seem like little Timmy had enough money to. Well, he could have. He could have stole his mom's credit card and gotten a fucking aimbot. I don't know. I'm just saying, if anything, what just like I tried to play a little bit before I got on here, and if that was like anything to, oh my god, we literally. I mean, Frank knows what I'm talking about. I don't think we had a game that lasted maybe longer than 10, 15 minutes at most. It was bad. I mean, seriously, it was bad. Like we played maybe. I mean, I only get on until about 6:30, and then we still played 6-7 games. It wasn't happening. I don't know if maybe later I might try and get on a little bit after this, but like if it dies down because it's fucking school night, your goddamn homework. Fuck all of you. Quit sweating on my fucking shit. Let me enjoy I can't even enjoy myself.
Jeremy's one of those angry gamers. You should go check him out on Twitch at Grim Tuesday 23. Was it Grim Tuesday 23? I always get the number wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, I got the number
23.
right. Grim Tuesday 23 on all the gaming platforms. You can go check him out. He's over on Twitch doing his thing. As for us, you're going to see us again, like I said, Tuesday, maybe even, if I can find somebody to do a retro movie review on Sunday, since I have some free time on Sunday that I did not plan on having. So maybe Sunday night before I go on to the Derailed podcast, that you can find in the description below, we can maybe squeeze in a retro movie review. There's a couple on my list that I want to do. So maybe I'll squeeze one of those out for Sunday. You never know. But if not, you'll see us Tuesday. And thank you guys for coming and checking out. Drew's back in the chat. Drew, go ahead and put the link to your Patreon so that way you have an easy
I'll do
link.
it for him.
Yeah, an easy way to go. Hooked up to his Patreon for $1 a month. You can get the Craft and Q2 podcast with all of the important women in the community. And
we're all important.
You're all important. Let's see. Thanks to all those who've been in the chat. Night Watch Zone had to bail because he had to go do some stuff, but definitely go check out his channel as well. Let's see. My woman, Miss the Harsh Truth, in the chat. Let's see. Night Watch Sleppy was here for a while. Jabroni Jabber podcast is going live right now. You can actually go.
I'm putting a link